Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. So what did I tell you guys? Manny Pacquiao is going to win Fighter of the Year for WBN. I did tell you guys, didn't I? I did tell you guys that the problem is, in terms of Fighter of the Year, you know, most people had Canelo winning it. Let's be real, most people had Canelo winning it, the Fighter of the Year this year. But when it comes to a voting system, and a lot of you were saying WBN's corrupt and WBN's this, WBN's that, they had him on the short list of Fighter of the Year, and he's won it because Manny Pacquiao's fan base is huge, and most of the casual boxing fans love Manny Pacquiao, so they're going to vote for Manny Pacquiao. Even if he had a not that great a year, people are going to vote for him because he's got such a huge fan base and a loving fan base. And it's not just a fan base where people like to watch him, it's like the love, like they literally love him. Like, you know, he's got that kind of fan base. For me personally, even though I had Manny Pacquiao Fighter of the Decade, I had Canelo Fighter of the Year, but it doesn't bother me that Manny Pacquiao's got, you know, Fighter of the Year for WBN. And the results are going to be announced tomorrow, and he's going to get the award because he's winning by a landslide and nobody's even close. I think he's got 80% of the votes, so he's way far ahead. And I read the article that I read clearly said that unless there's a miracle, Manny Pacquiao is going to win the Fighter of the Year with the WBN. So this is what I was saying when a lot of you were saying politics, etc. I do think Manny should have been on the short list for the Fighter of the Decade, but I understand why they've done it, because I think in their eyes, they don't think Manny Pacquiao's Fighter of the Decade, right? And they probably know if we put him on the Fighter of the Decade list, he's probably going to win on votes. So that's probably why they had him off the shortlist, which is wrong. But I understand from their point of view why they've done it, because in their eyes, they don't see him as Fighter of the Decade. They don't think he deserved to win Fighter of the Decade. So I can see why. But obviously with the Fighter of the Year situation, they knew that they have to put him on the list because Manny Pacquiao had an exceptional year this year. You know, for 41-year-old, he beat Thurman and beat Broner. But I always said that, forget the 41-year-old, that doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, we're judging everyone equally. What their age is irrelevant. But brilliant. He's won it with the WBN. I don't think he's won it with anybody else. I think this is the only one because it was a voting system. I don't think the others are the voting system. So I think, you know, it's a great achievement for him. He's gone on to win another award. But some of you have mentioned that I don't really think it really matters. Does Manny Pacquiao care about winning Fighter of the Year? How many Fighter of the Year awards has he won? So many. You know, I don't think at this point in his career that either Floyd or Manny really care about Fighter of the Year. Fighter of the Decade is different because Fighter of the Decade is massive. It's like the Fighter of the Decade. But in terms of Fighter of the Year, I don't really think Manny's won so many of them, you know. So it is what it is. I don't really think, you know, it's gonna make much difference to him. But obviously, it's still a great achievement at his age to be a Fighter of the Year. It's exceptional, you know, and you have to give the man credit for having the year he had. It just also shows how big a fan base he has, because most people would argue that he didn't deserve it more than Canelo. Canelo fought stronger fighters this year. You know, he fought Danny Jacobs and Kovalev, and Pacquiao fought Broner and Thurman. And you could have an argument that Canelo, not an argument, I would say that Canelo's resume this year was a far stronger. You know, Danny Jacobs is a very, very good fighter, and Kovalev, although he's past his best, you know, he's a 2 weights above Canelo. So Canelo went up 2 weights, to fight a guy that was past his best, but still 2 weights above, and Kovalev was winning. So Canelo found a knockout to win that fight. So it was an exceptional performance. But hey ho, Manny Pacquiao wins it. Good on him. 41-year-old, still doing his thing, still going out there and smashing it. And yeah, let's see what 2020 holds for Manny Pacquiao. You know, there's some big fights. Can he go on to become Fighter of the Year again? Or will he even be on the shortlist? Let's see. I think this year is going to be a lot tougher for Manny Pacquiao, because I think he's going to be slung into fights possibly that are going to be a lot tougher. I think Errol Spence is going to be a lot tougher physically. Porter fight, if that happens, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's also a very tough fight. There's other fights. Danny Garcia, I think he beats Garcia. I don't think that's as tough, but let's see. I think 2020 is going to be very exciting for Pacquiao. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. Terence Bud Crawford. He is not happy with the other welterweight champions. He says that, you know, stop ducking and come out and fight me. You know, Terence Crawford gives them all a warning and saying, where's, you know, these guys don't want to fight me. I think Terence Crawford's been doing a lot of that. There was this fight with Sean Porter, and then he dismissed that fight with Sean Porter, saying he's not interested in that fight. Is that because Sean Porter's not a welterweight champion and he wants to fight the champions? I don't know. But if it was a case where Terence Crawford had no one to fight and Sean Porter was interested to fight, just because he's not a champion, the fans aren't going to... Terence Crawford said something on Twitter. He said that these guys that make YouTube vids, they don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. And he's right. He knows more than us what's going on, and he knows the politics a lot better than us. But at the end of the day, if Terence Crawford doesn't come out and say what happens either. So it leaves the fans in kind of no man's land. We don't know what's going on. And then we kind of hear contradicting statements saying that he's not getting fights with the PBC guys. They don't want to fight. And then Sean Porter's interested in fighting him. And then he's saying, I'm not interested in that fight. So we're kind of left scratching our head. I like Terence Crawford. I think he deserves these big fights. I think he should get these big fights. He's also gone back with Errol Spence, which I'm going to do a video about that. But we want to see Terence Crawford in the action. And Al Heyman probably needs to do a lot. Hopefully Al Heyman can get these fights made, you know, because it seems like there's some serious beef between Crawford and Spence. And people want to see those fights, if we're honest. People want to see Spence and Crawford. People want to see Crawford against all the other top guys to see how good he really is. Because we haven't seen Crawford in against that kind of competition yet. We haven't seen him in there against those welterweights yet. So people are interested and intrigued to see what would happen if Crawford was to fight those welterweights. You know, they've seen him a bit struggle against a bit Kavaliauskas, and people are like, whoa, come on. You know, if he's struggling against Kavaliauskas, how would he do against Porter? How would he do against Garcia? You know, so people are intrigued. They want to know how good Terence Crawford is, and a lot of people feel that the opponents that he's fought throughout his career, that the other welterweights would beat as well. A lot of people say that Terence Crawford's best name on his resume is Amir Khan, and we all know that that wasn't vintage Khan. That wasn't the Khan that got beat by Danny Garcia or beat Marcus Maidana. That was Amir Khan that was inactive for years, that wasn't world champion for a very long time. Was also, we all know that he didn't look himself. He didn't look at his peak either. So at the end of the day, people question whether Terence Crawford really beat a legitimate, you know, a top of the game, or top of his game Amir Khan, you know, and that's the issue. So the question is, moving forward with Crawford, is that we want to see him in really hard fights against top level guys. And if Crawford destroys Sean Porter and beats him comfortably, I don't think people are gonna give him respect. They're not gonna say Sean Porter was crap, because we've seen Sean Porter against top fighters, and we've seen how tough he is, and we've seen how hard he makes it for everybody. So nobody's gonna say, well, Terence Crawford people are going to give Terence Crawford a lot of respect if he beats those top guys. But we need to see him in action with those top guys. Do you understand? Until we see that, people are not going to give him, you know, fans are quite fickle. You know, even when a guy's achieved so much like Mayweather, you know, they don't want to give him credit. So Crawford's not achieved even a quarter of what Mayweather achieved, really. So we need to see him in there with the top guys and see how he does. And who knows, if he fights Porter, does a better job on Porter than what Spence did, people are going to start talking. But at the end of the day, we need to see Crawford in there with the top guys. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not saying it's Crawford's fault, it's the other guy's fault. We just want to see the fights. As fans, we want to see it. And hopefully we do. Hopefully they can make it. Hopefully it happens. But what do you guys think? I want to know your guys' opinion. Leave your thoughts. Terence Crawford tells the other welterweight, stop ducking me and fight me. Leave your thoughts. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. Terence Crawford and Errol Spence get into a back and forth. And Terence Crawford tells Errol Spence that I'm going to smoke you. I am going to smoke you. Terence Crawford is taking out all his frustration on Errol Spence, and Errol Spence, I think his sister and Errol Spence Terence Crawford's sister and Errol Spence had a back and forth, and Errol Spence seems like a very relaxed guy, calm guy, and Terence Crawford seems like a guy that likes to bite. He likes to come at you, but I think it's a situation where Errol Spence knows he's the one that's in a strong position. He's a unified champ. He's got all the fighters in the welterweight roster on his side of the table, so he's probably going to get the Pacquiao fight. Where Crawford knows he's left singled out, not getting the fights that he wants to, bit frustrated from the way he's reacting. I think he seems a bit frustrated, seems a bit angry with the whole situation. And we hope Terence Crawford can get the big fights, because that's a fight that I think would be a great fight, because I think there's a lot of needle there now as well. I think there's a lot of needle. I'm not saying that they hate each other, because actually I don't think Terence Crawford and Errol Spence hate each other. I think they have a lot of respect for each other, and I actually think they're probably friends. But I think because of the fact it's becoming such a big rivalry, I think they're both starting to get a little bitter towards one another. And it's getting to the point where I think they're starting to become a lot of needles. So I actually think if the fight was to be made, I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth. Even though I think, because Terence Crawford isn't a guy that is going to start anything. But for me, Errol Spence, he says a lot of things that can get under your skin. He can be aggressive, and I think Terence Crawford's not the one where if someone says something, he's not going to stay quiet. He's going to bite back. So I think this will be one where it will catch fire slowly, but it will catch fire, because I think Errol Spence will probably say something and Terence Crawford will bite back, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, I think they'll both be going back and forth at one another. So this is why I think with this fight, I think the build-up will be great, and I actually think it would do good for Terence Crawford's image. It would do good for Terence Crawford's popularity. I think he'd become more famous, which there's always been a kind of concern about him, that, you know, he's not that popular, he's not that known. I think this type of fight could definitely help his popularity, him being known more, and etc. Because I do think, you know, he probably needs to get out there a little bit more. And a lot of people, let's be honest, only the hardcore fans really know who Terence Crawford is. If you walk on the street, even in the UK, nobody really knows Terence Crawford. In America, probably not either. You know, his social media numbers aren't very high. But this is what I mean. These type of fights will help, because Terence Crawford hasn't had those marquee fights where you know, it's a super fight, it's a massive pay-per-view fight. He hasn't really had those fights. So hopefully, when Terence Crawford starts getting those big marquee pay-per-view fights, he'll become a bigger name. He'll become a bigger draw. People will get to know him a lot more. You know, so you would probably say his biggest fight to date was against Amir Khan. And Amir Khan's name no longer held the weight that it once used to, like 10 years ago, 8 years ago. You know, so the fight wasn't deemed as that big, because people didn't really see the fight as competitive. They didn't think that Amir Khan would win that fight. If it was 8-10 years ago, the reason why it would have been a great fight, because people would have actually thought Amir Khan can win. And they would have thought it would have been a 50-50 matchup. Malignaggi said this. He goes, 8 years ago, Amir Khan and Crawford would have been a 50-50 matchup, and it would have been good to see who would have come out on top in that fight, because Amir Khan was such a good boxer. And it would have been very tough for Crawford as well. But Malignaggi said before the fight that it wasn't the prime Khan. But taking Khan out of it, I think we want to see Errol Spence and Crawford fight. We want to see the fight. It's between two guys in their prime. It's two guys at their peak. It's two guys that, you know, are great fighters, and two guys we want to see fight. We want to see these two fight. So, you know, really they need to make it. Hopefully they can make it this year. I'm not holding my breath. But hopefully they can make it this year. But the problem is, I don't see Errol Spence that interested, in the sense that I think he would prefer to fight Pacquiao first and fight the guys in around his roster, and then fight Crawford. But let's see. Errol Spence doesn't seem like a guy. I think he seems like a guy that would fight anyone. So I do think that this isn't going to be a case where this is going to be marinated too long. I do think that we may get this fight this year. It wouldn't shock me, but it could take, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets made next year. It seems more likely. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.